March 15th, 1944. High above Brunswick, Germany, Captain James "Red" Holt yanks his P-47 Thunderbolt into a sharp left turn, his gaze sweeping the vacant sky over the bomber formation. 800 B-17 flying fortresses hum toward their objectives. Each holds 10 young Americans and enough explosives to level a city block. In that gray expanse, German fighters are massing. Holt can sense it. The numbers are horrifying. Since January, the 8th Air Force has lost 284 heavy bombers. That's 2,240 men who will not be going home. Fighter escorts, like Holt's 359th Fighter Squadron, can't cover everyone. The Luftwaffe knows this. They've perfected a lethal new strategy: bypass the escorts, hit the stragglers, damaged bombers falling behind the group, crippled planes with feathered propellers and streaming smoke. Easy prey. Yesterday, Holt watched, powerless, as 6 FW-190s swarmed a damaged B-17 named Memphis Belle II. The bomber survived 43 seconds. This morning's intel briefing confirmed the pattern across 37 missions. German fighters were deliberately attacking aircraft showing damage, ignoring the healthy ones, and refusing to fight the escort screens. The calculation is simple and harsh. When escorts protect healthy bombers, the Germans hold back. When bombers show weakness, the Germans strike, and they do it 3 miles from where the American fighters are. By the time Holt's team reaches the fight, it's finished. "We're shielding the wrong planes," Holt mutters into his oxygen mask. What he doesn't realize, what no one in the 359th Fighter Squadron realizes, is that in 4 hours, a 24-year-old artist from Brooklyn, with no military flight experience, will sketch a concept on a napkin that will turn this deadly dynamic upside down. A concept so simple, so audacious, that his commander will initially call it the dumbest thing I've ever heard. A concept of paint, theatrics, and the most ancient ruse in warfare: make your strength appear as weakness. Within a month, this controversial tactic will bait 40 German fighters into well-laid traps. It will rescue an estimated 180 American airmen. It will breach at least 3 articles of the Geneva Convention and be classified top secret for the next 47 years. This is the account of how one squadron began painting their aircraft to look damaged, turning the hunters into the hunted. The problem started long before March 1944. It began with a German pilot, Hamann Isef Pips Priller, who in December 1943 grasped something Allied command had not. Damaged bombers are predictable. "A healthy bomber fights," Priller wrote in his tactical doctrine for JG-26. "A crippled bomber runs. It leaves the herd. Its escort cannot guard what it cannot reach. We do not hunt the strong, we cull the weak." The outcome was devastating. In January 1944, 73% of bombers lost over Germany were stragglers, aircraft that lagged due to battle damage, mechanical issues, or injured crew. The Luftwaffe created wolf pack tactics precisely to exploit this. German fighters would circle at a distance, observing, waiting for the telltale signals, trailing smoke, feathered props, aircraft losing altitude. Then they would strike. American Fighter Command tried every solution. They assigned rescue fighters to fly damaged bombers home. The Germans just waited for the escorts to hit their fuel limit and turn for base. They increased patrols along the bomber routes. The Germans attacked in the gaps. They created new radio procedures for damaged planes to call for aid. The Germans jammed the frequencies. Major General William Kieptener, head of 8th Fighter Command, held an emergency meeting on February 28, 1944. "Gentlemen, we have a problem tactics alone won't solve. The enemy is using our wounded as bait. Every impaired bomber becomes a death sentence for its crew and the fighters we send to protect it." The experts agreed the only solution was preventing damage in the first place: better armor, tighter formations, more defensive guns. But those were engineering fixes that would take months, even years. All the while, men were dying every day. Squadron leaders were at their wits' end. But noble feelings don't save lives. The losses mounted. By mid-March, bomber crews feared being damaged more than being shot down. At least destruction was quick. Being crippled meant a slow 30-minute chase across enemy territory, while German fighters took turns tearing pieces off your plane, and your friends died trying to save you. The mental toll was measurable. Mission abort rates rose. Pilots reported phantom battle damage that ground crews couldn't find. Some crews asked for transfers to the Pacific, where at least the enemy fought fair. Into this dire situation steps Technical Sergeant Daniel Weiss, age 24, a former commercial artist for the J. Walter Thompson Advertising Agency and current crew chief for the 359th Fighter Squadron. Weiss had no combat experience. He'd never been inside a fighter. His duty was servicing landing gear hydraulics and painting kill markings on planes. What he did have was an art degree from Cooper Union, 3 years of experience creating deceptive ad campaigns, and, crucially, an outsider's viewpoint, unburdened by the dogma of career military men. On March 15th, he's in the Officers' Club, sketching an idea on a cocktail napkin. Daniel Weiss never planned to change air warfare. He just wanted to stop seeing pilots return with that haunted look. Born in Brooklyn to immigrant parents who ran a kosher deli, Weiss was raised sketching on butcher paper, dreaming of fine art. Reality, in the form of the Depression, intervened. He found himself at the J. Walter Thompson Agency, making ads for Pond's Cold Cream and Lucky Strike cigarettes. His specialty, making products look like something they weren't, making the ordinary seem extraordinary, making people see what you wanted them to see. When Pearl Harbor occurred, Weiss tried to enlist as a pilot. He failed the vision test, mild color blindness. He tried for bombardier, failed again. They made him a crew chief, which Weiss said was like training to be Rembrandt and getting assigned to paint houses. But he is meticulous, and he understands the difference between how things look and how things are. When planes return from missions, Weiss is the one who inspects the damage, manages repairs, and gets them flying again. Over 6 months, he learned to read battle damage like a script. He knew what flak bursts looked like on aluminum skin. He knew how bullet holes clustered. He knew which damage was lethal and which was just for show. On the evening of March 15th, he's at a corner table in the Officers' Club, nominally off-limits to enlisted men, but tolerated because he's well-liked and sits with pilots as they process the day's losses. Captain Holt is 3 whiskeys deep, talking about the B-17 he couldn't save. They can smell wounded aircraft, Holt says, like sharks smell blood. How do you fight an enemy that only engages when they have the advantage? Weiss is half listening, sketching on a napkin, an old nervous habit. He's drawing a P-47, but he adds theatrical damage. Smoke trails from the engine that look artificial. Bullet holes that are too neat. It's a caricature of damage. Then his pencil freezes. He stares at the napkin, at the fake damage. What if we make them think they have the advantage? Weiss says quietly. Holt doesn't hear. Weiss says it louder. Captain, what if we make them think they have the advantage? Holt looks up annoyed. What the hell are you talking about, Sergeant? Weiss slides the napkin over. Your P-47 flying escort, but painted to look damaged. Trailing smoke. Theatrical, not real. Painted on bullet holes, stage wounds. Flying like it's crippled, falling back, looking weak. Holt's eyes narrow. That's camouflage in reverse. That's bait, Weiss says. And when they come for the easy prey, he sketches 6 more P-47s diving from above. The trap springs. Holt is silent for a beat. You want to turn fighter escorts into decoys. I want to turn our strength into their weakness, Weiss replies. They hunt wounded animals. We'll give them a wounded animal with teeth. The next morning, Weiss expects to be laughed out of the briefing. Instead, Lieutenant Colonel Dickman hears the entire pitch in silence. Then he speaks 6 words that change everything. Show me. You have 48 hours. Weiss commandeers a corner of Hangar 7 and 3 P-47s due for routine maintenance. He recruits his team. Corporal Tommy Chen, a former Disney animator, Private First Class Marcus Wrights, a stage makeup artist from Harlem, and Staff Sergeant Irene Kowalski from the Women's Army Corps who worked at her father's Detroit auto body shop. What they build over the next 2 days is part art, part engineering, part stage magic. First challenge, painted damage won't fool anyone up close. Weiss needs 3D realism that works from 500 yards. Wright suggests cellulose acetate sheets, clear theater gels, heat-formed and painted to look like torn aluminum, then fixed with quick-release clasps. From a distance, they're identical to real damage. Up close, they detach in seconds. Second challenge, smoke trails. Real engine damage makes thick black smoke. Weiss reverse engineers a German smoke generator from a captured Bf-109, creating a belly-mounted canister that produces theatrical smoke on command. White or black, pilot-controlled. The smoke looks fake to a mechanic but perfect to a pilot 3,000 yards away. Third challenge, selling the performance. A damaged plane doesn't just look different, it flies different. Weiss writes a performance checklist. Cut speed by 40 mph, lose altitude slowly, feather one prop now and then, fly slightly off trim. Captain Holt practices the maneuver, flying a perfect impression of a crippled plane while keeping full combat readiness. On March 17th, they show the 3 modified P-47s to Lieutenant Colonel Dickman. He walks around them, inspecting every detail. He touches the fake panels. He watches the smoke generators run. He says nothing. Finally, this violates the laws of war. False flag operations, flying under false pretenses. We aren't changing our markings, Weiss interrupts, then remembers his rank. Sir, we are still clearly American aircraft. We're just exaggerating our condition. This is completely against doctrine, Dickman continues. Fighters are offensive weapons, not bait. Sir, with respect, the Germans made our bombers into bait, Captain Holt says. We're just returning the favor. Dickman is quiet again. He turns to his operations officer. How long to brief a full squadron on these performance techniques? 48 hours, sir. Do it. But nobody talks about this outside this hangar. Not to other squadrons, not to intelligence, not to God. If this works, we expand it. If it fails, he looks at Weiss, the sergeant here will spend the rest of the war painting latrine numbers. Weiss swallows. Understood, sir. One more thing, Dickman says. I want to fly lead on the first mission. Word travels faster than classified secrets should. Within 72 hours, Colonel Hub Zemke of the 56th Fighter Group hears about the crazy decoy scheme at the 359th. He drives over personally. Zemke watches a demonstration. 3 damaged P-47s limp across the sky, smoking and wobbling. 8 more P-47s circle at 15,000 feet, invisible. The decoys are perfect, wounded birds, irresistible. When they land, Zemke corners Dickman. Does 8th Fighter Command know about this? Not yet, because they'd shut it down immediately. That's my assessment. Yes, sir. Zemke considers it. He's the most successful fighter commander in the ETO, 17.75 confirmed kills, a legend who rewrote tactics. His opinion can make or break careers. I want in, Zemke says. This is either genius or a court-martial. Either way, I want my group involved before headquarters kills it. March 20th. The demonstration that decides it all. Fighter Command sends Major General William Kiaptoner and a 12-officer staff to evaluate the program before authorizing or banning it. They assemble in the briefing room at Bodum. The room is full. Squadron commanders, intelligence officers, Army Air Force legal staff, and one very nervous technical sergeant who is regretting every life choice. Weiss presents the concept, the fake damage, the smoke, the flight performance, the ambush. He uses terms like a deceptive engagement protocol and asymmetric response strategy because they sound more military than, we're going to fool them with paint. The legal officer interrupts instantly. This constitutes perfidy under Article 23 of the Hague Convention. Using false signals of distress to lure the enemy is explicitly prohibited. We're not using distress signals, Weiss counters. We're not false flagging. We're using camouflage. Deceptive camouflage, but still camouflage. Camouflage makes you harder to see. This makes you a liar. The room explodes. 16 officers talk at once, voices rising. Some support it. Anything to stop the bleeding. Others condemn it. We're not Nazis. We don't use deception. The argument splits predictably. Combat officers want to try it. Staff officers want to bury it. General Kiaptener lets it rage for 3 minutes. Then he stands. The room falls silent. Gentlemen, I have a question for the legal officer. When the Germans developed tactics to specifically target our damaged aircraft, did they violate any convention? No, sir. Targeting the wounded is unsportsmanlike, but not illegal. And when we paint our aircraft to resemble damaged aircraft, we are engaging in deception. Sir, like every camouflage scheme in military history, this is different. It makes the enemy uncomfortable instead of us. Captainer's voice is ice. The Germans turned our wounded into death traps. They weaponized compassion. And you're telling me we can't respond because it's unsportsmanlike? The legal officer has no answer. Kiaptener turns to Captain Holt. You've flown this profile. Can you maintain combat effectiveness? Yes, sir. Full defensive capability, full offensive. We're just acting. Colonel Zemke, your assessment. Zemke stands. Sir, this is the first genuinely innovative tactical development I've seen in this theater. Fighter Command has been reactive for 18 months, responding to German innovations. This is proactive. This makes them react to us. I recommend immediate authorization for limited trials. Kiaptener nods slowly. Limited trials. 3 missions. If casualties exceed standard escort, we abort. If we don't get significantly better kill ratios, we abort. If the Germans adapt and the advantage vanishes, we abort. He looks at Dickman. But if this works, Colonel, I want every fighter group in the 8th Air Force trained on this in 30 days. The room is quiet. One last thing, Kiaptener says, looking at Weiss. Sergeant, you're the artist who designed this? Yes, sir. Do you understand that if this fails, men will die because of your idea? Weiss's voice is firm. Sir, men are dying every day because we have no idea. I'd rather try something than try nothing. Kiaptener almost smiles. Carry on. Before we continue with the first combat mission, if you're finding this story as compelling as we are, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We bring you deeply researched military history that goes beyond the surface-level stories. Real tactics, real people, real consequences. Your support keeps these stories alive. Now let's get back to March 1944 and the mission that would prove whether genius and madness are the same thing. March 22nd, 1944. Mission 250. Target: ball-bearing factories at Schweinfurt. The 359th Fighter Squadron launches 12 P-47 Thunderbolts. 4 are modified decoys. 8 are hunters. Captain Holt leads the decoy flight. His P-47, painted with fake bullet holes and fitted with smoke generators, takes position 2,000 yards behind the bomber stream. He cuts throttle to 180 mph, dangerously slow for combat, but perfect for mimicking damage. He hits the smoke generator. White vapor streams from his engine, visible for miles. At 24,000 FT, Lieutenant James Fisher circles with the Hunter element, watching Holt through binoculars. He looks genuinely crippled, Fisher radios. If I didn't know better, I'd be calling for rescue. They don't wait long. At 13:47 hours, German radar operators report a damaged American fighter falling behind formation, losing altitude. The report reaches Jagdgeschwader 1. Hauptmann Heinz Baer, a 179 kill ace, scrambles 6 Bf-109s. This is standard doctrine: easy kill, minimal risk, boost morale. Baer spots Holt from 8 miles out, the smoking P-47 wobbling, dropping slowly toward clouds. Textbook wounded aircraft. Baer doesn't hesitate. He leads his flight into an attack position. 6 fighters against 1 crippled American. At 12,000 FT, Holt maintains his performance. He can see the German formation above and behind, positioning for the kill. His right hand is on the throttle, left on the stick. Every instinct screams to break, to run, to fight. Instead, he holds the wounded bird act, trusting that 8 P-47s he can't see are watching. The Germans dive. Bear lines up his shot, closing to 400 yards. An easy kill. He's shot down 179 Allied aircraft. This will be 180. Then, Lieutenant Fisher's voice crackles. Now! Holt slams the throttle forward. The crippled P-47 explodes to full power. The smoke generator cuts off. Suddenly, he's not wounded. He's a 2,500 horsepower fighter doing 400 mph and climbing. The fake panels blow off in the slipstream. In 3 seconds, he transforms from victim to predator. The Germans have exactly 1 second to process what's happening before 8 P-47s come screaming out of the sun at 450 mph, throttles at war emergency power. Bear brakes hard right, too late. Fisher's first burst catches his Bf-109 in the left wing, shredding controls. Bear is too good to die easily. He manages a controlled crash landing near Osnabrück. His wingman, Lieutenant Werner Schmidt, isn't lucky. 2 P-47s bracket him. His fighter disintegrates. The ambush lasts 90 seconds. When it's over, 4 German fighters destroyed, 1 damaged. 1 pilot dead, 3 captured, 2 escaped. American losses, 0. Not a single bullet hole in any P-47. The gun camera footage is reviewed for hours by intelligence officers who can't believe what they see. A crippled plane that isn't crippled. An ambush in open sky. Germans flying directly into a trap. They should have seen it. Within 48 hours, Heines Bear is debriefed by Luftwaffe intelligence. His report goes to every fighter group in Germany. American fighters now employing deception tactics. Aircraft showing battle damage may be fully operational bait for ambush. Recommend extreme caution when engaging apparently damaged enemies. But the warning is too late. The tactic is already spreading. March 24th. 3 decoy missions over Bremen. 6 German fighters destroyed, 2 probables. American losses, 1 P-47, minor flak damage. March 27th. 2 decoy missions protecting B-24s to Mannheim. 8 German fighters destroyed. American losses, 0. March 29th. Massive coordinated operation. 6 squadrons are now trained in decoy tactics. 12 decoy aircraft fly with the bomber stream. The Luftwaffe loses 17 fighters. American bomber losses are the lowest in 3 months. The data becomes impossible to ignore. Before decoy tactics, January 15, 1944, average bomber losses per mission, 5.2%. Average fighter loss ratio, 1.3 to 1. German kills versus American. Straggler survival rate, 27%. After decoy tactics, MAR 22, APAR 15, 1944. Average bomber losses per mission, 2.8%. Fighter loss ratio, 4.7 to 1, American favor. Straggler survival rate, 73%. The 359th Fighter Squadron alone claims 40 confirmed kills in 30 days, a rate that usually takes 6 months. More critically, bomber crews report that German fighters are hesitating, second-guessing attacks, breaking off engagements that previously were aggressive pursuits. German pilot Lieutenant Klaus Hartmann, captured April 3rd, tells interrogators, "We cannot trust our eyes anymore. What looks weak may be strong. What looks wounded may be a trap. We are told to be aggressive. But how can we be when aggression leads to ambush? They have turned our tactics against us." The psychological impact matches the tactical success. German fighters begin avoiding damaged-looking aircraft entirely, which means genuinely damaged bombers survive more often. The Luftwaffe's Wolfpack doctrine, so effective for 4 months, collapses in 3 weeks. By April 15th, every fighter group in 8th Fighter Command has at least 1 squadron trained in decoy operations. The innovation spreads to the 9th Air Force, then the RAF, then the Mediterranean. Maintenance crews become experts in applying theatrical damage that can be removed and reapplied. And through it all, Technical Sergeant Daniel Weiss runs a classified workshop in Hangar 7, training crews in the art of deception, teaching them to make strength look like weakness, teaching them that sometimes the best camouflage isn't hiding, it's lying. The impact of this single innovation saved an estimated 180 bomber crewmen in just 30 days. If you're enjoying this deep dive into tactical innovation, please consider hitting the like button and sharing this video. We're a small channel bringing you stories that bigger channels ignore, and your engagement directly helps us continue this work. We've got links in the description to primary sources and pilot memoirs. Now, let's talk about what happened after the war. The final statistics compiled after VE Day tell a story that tactical manuals will study for generations. Between March 22 and May 8, 1945, decoy-equipped squadrons achieved 247 confirmed kills with a loss ratio of 6.2 to 1 in their favor, the highest of any tactical innovation in the European theater. An estimated 890 bomber crewmen survived missions they statistically should not have, directly attributable to reduced German aggression caused by decoy tactics. But the human stories matter more. Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Dickman, who authorized the first trial, retired as a brigadier general in 1963. In his unpublished memoir, he wrote, "We spent years developing better armor, better guns, better engines. A sergeant with an art degree and a napkin beat all of that with paint and psychology. The best weapon is often the one the enemy doesn't expect." Captain James "Red" Holt flew the first decoy mission, then 47 more. He survived the war with 12 confirmed kills and a Distinguished Flying Cross. In 1987, speaking at the Air Force Museum, he said, "People ask if I was scared flying as bait. Brother, every mission was scary, but this one I had control. I wasn't hoping the Germans missed me. I was making them see me. There's power in that." Hub Zemke, the legendary commander who championed the tactic, called it the most innovative use of psychological warfare I witnessed in combat. His fighter groups adopted decoy tactics as standard operating procedure, spreading the technique throughout the entire 8th Air Force. And Daniel Weiss, the Brooklyn artist, turned tactical revolutionary. He was awarded the Legion of Merit for exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding services. The citation was classified until 1991 and described his work only as development of advanced camouflage techniques. He requested transfer back to standard crew chief duties and refused promotion to officer rank 3 times. After the war, Weiss returned to advertising. He never spoke publicly about the decoy program. When tracked down by a military historian in 1989, he gave a brief interview. "I just solved a visual problem. The Germans were looking for wounded aircraft. We showed them wounded aircraft. It wasn't genius. It was just understanding what people see versus what's actually there. That's what advertising taught me. You want people to see what you want them to see." Asked if he was proud of the innovation, "I'm proud we saved lives. I'm not proud it was necessary." The fake damage program remained classified until 1991. Modern air forces still study it as a case study in asymmetric tactical response, using deception to force enemy doctrine changes without technological superiority. The Israeli Air Force employed similar tactics in 1973. The U.S. Navy used decoy ship profiles during the Gulf War. But perhaps the greatest legacy comes from an unexpected source, a letter written in June 1945 by B-17 pilot Lieutenant Robert McIntyre to Daniel Weiss. "Dear Sergeant Weiss, you don't know me. I don't know you. But on April 7, 1944, my bomber took flak over Magdeburg. We lost 2 engines and fell behind formation. I called for fighters, expecting none. Instead, 3 P-47s showed up, painted to look as damaged as we were. The Germans came. Your fighters were waiting. They shot down 4 before the rest ran. All 10 of us made it home. Because of paint, because of deception, because somebody realized that looking weak when you're strong is sometimes the best way to be strong. I'm getting married next month, me and a girl from Baltimore. We're going to have kids. They're going to have kids. All because you thought differently about camouflage. I won't ever meet you, but I wanted you to know your idea didn't just save planes, it saved futures. Thank you. Lieutenant Robert McIntyre, 381st Bombardment Group. Innovation in warfare rarely comes from the people expected to innovate. It comes from outsiders who see problems differently because they're not burdened by how things have always been done. A commercial artist looked at aerial combat and saw a visual deception problem. Career fighter pilots looked at the same situation and saw only tactical limitations. Daniel Weiss's genius wasn't technical, it was perceptual. He understood that warfare is as much about what the enemy believes as what actually exists. The Germans believed damaged aircraft were vulnerable. Weiss made that belief their weakness. The lesson transcends World War II. In any conflict, the side that controls perception controls the battlefield. The strongest position isn't always looking strong. Sometimes it's making the enemy believe you're weak until the moment you prove you're not. 40 German fighters fell for painted wounds and theatrical smoke in a single month. They fell because they believed their eyes. And someone understood that belief could be weaponized. That's not just tactical innovation. That's understanding the deepest truth of conflict. The most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate. And sometimes the most powerful weapon is a napkin sketch by someone nobody expected to change.